You've no doubt heard of Mario Kart. You've also apparently heard the way that I say heard. Seriously guys, it's just my accent. Whatever you hear when I say heard, I just don't hear it. The Mario Kart franchise has been a huge success with over 100 million games sold since its debut Super Mario Kart released in 1992. And just like any successful game formula, other studios will stop at nothing to get their hands on a piece of that pie. For example, you might have already heard of Crash Team Racing, a spin-off from the Crash Bandicoot franchise, which, along with what feels like every other PlayStation game from the 90s, has recently had a HD remake. But that's just one of many increasingly questionable franchises to create their own spin-off kart racer. And believe me guys when I tell you that this barrel gets real dark at the bottom. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed continues the tradition of Sonic games with just slightly uncomfortably too long titles. The title itself is of course an attempt for Sega to capitalize on their most successful character, Sonic, whilst also saying, "We've made other games too!" This game is in fact the sequel to the equally verbosely titled Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. And there is also Team Sonic Racing, released May 2019, whose title suggests that Sega have finally learned how to name their games succinctly. I ventured to the roster screen expecting to see nothing but a cast of C-list Sonic series characters and a couple from Sega's other long since sunsetted franchises. Whilst there was a couple of familiar faces, please bring back Super Monkey Ball. Can you imagine how perfect this game would be for the Switch? When I looked them all up, most of the cast were from games that I'd personally never even heard of. But now here is a couple of familiar faces. And for those of you who don't know, they are famously well voice acted. They even managed to get in one of Heavy's famous voice lines. Good times! The big question on my mind when it comes to any kart racer which isn't Mario Kart is why would I play this kart racer when I could just play Mario Kart? Well, credit where credit is due, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed puts a fair amount of effort into being more than just a high-budget Mario Kart clone, even though a lot of it is very Mario Karty. On top of a very nice art style and a solid soundtrack, one of the main standout elements is the game's World Tour mode, which introduces a pretty interesting progression system to the kart racer genre. Not only do you unlock characters at certain milestones, but individual characters have got levels which in turn unlock stat mods for their cars. You get stickers for completing various achievements, which I'm sure could lead to some very interesting pictographs on your in-game license, and you've even got a Call of Duty medal-style shoutouts for things that you achieve during a race.
Alright! Transform boost!
World Tour also features alternate modes such as drift challenges and missions requiring you to boost for an extended amount of time. And this is all on top of your standard Grand Prix and time trial modes. But of course the two main unique selling points of this game are from its namesake: All-Star power-ups and transformations. The All-Star power-ups are... yeah, they're nothing to write home about. Transformations, on the other hand, do offer a pretty interesting paradigm, and during most races you will go between your typical kart racing, to boat racing, which is basically kart racing with bad handling, to plane racing, which requires driving in a 3D space, opening up some genuinely interesting gameplay. Coming into this video, I had played a little bit of Sonic's racing back catalogue, so I was already aware of some of the pros and cons of the series, but the next two games we're looking at were completely uncharted territory. You've heard of Nickelodeon, the extremely popular kids TV channel with God knows how many hit TV shows, of which I watched pretty much all when growing up. So I was pretty excited to see the character roster on Nickelodeon kart races, especially after my disappointment with Sonic in this area. And with SpongeBob and Tommy Pickles front and center on the cover, this was a good omen. I very distinctly remember playing and adoring the Rugrats game on the PlayStation 1, so if Kart Racers is anything like that PS1 game, then we're in for a good time. This is not what I meant when I said I hope it's like a PS1 game. And seriously, is this all that there is? Where's Drake? Where's Josh? Keenan? Kel? Sister? Cat Dog? Sam Cat? And that's not including all of the other Nickelodeon shows which aren't just two titled characters. There isn't even any more characters to unlock. This is the entire roster. That being said, this game could have been so much worse. The graphics, whilst mediocre, are at the very least good enough. Driving mechanics are fine generally, and drifting feels pretty similar to Mario Kart or Sonic. The gameplay actually has some interesting ideas, like an omnipresent boost powered by charging up slime. Unique character abilities. Some races are slaloms or King of the Hill style matches, which eliminate you if you fall too far behind. And you can also upgrade your kart either through level ups or through the in-game store. And I've got to say, it was a pretty awesome feeling speeding along as Tommy, vying for position against Reptar on a tight racetrack corner. But simultaneously, this game could have been so much better. There's only a handful of level themes, so it pretty much feels like you're racing the same few tracks over and over. The user interface looks like it was actually drawn by SpongeBob or Tommy Pickles. Seriously, the games you used to get for free in cereal boxes had better menus than this. Even though only 4 different Nickelodeon franchises made it into the game, there is no music, or voice acting, or really anything to suggest that this is a Nickelodeon game at all, except for the fact that there are the characters and some sort of themed environments. And why is the roster so small? Even if we were to only look at Nickelodeon's animated shows, there are still plenty that we're missing out on. The winner's celebration kind of sums up my feelings on this game. Whenever I feel like actually, maybe it isn't that bad, I all of a sudden get gunge in my hair. It could also be summarized by something my IRL friend said when I showed them this game. Did you actually pay money for this? So Sonic is one of the most recognized names in gaming after Mario, and Nickelodeon and its franchises are widely known and much beloved, and I can only think of a handful of other franchises out there who would receive as much excitement and be more fitting for the kart racing genre. Now, to be fair, Garfield is the world's most widely syndicated comic strip, at least according to Wikipedia, but it's hardly got a reputation for its breadth of characters or world building, especially amongst the generation of gamers who a game of this genre is going to be aimed at. I'm pretty sure the Venn diagram for newspaper comic strip fans and kart racer video game fans is pretty much 2 distinct circles. I seriously unironically want to know, how did this happen? Who approached who? I can just imagine how that initial planning meeting went. Hey man, great news. We just scored a deal with a major franchise to make a video game for them. Oh sweet, that's amazing. Who is it? Is it someone I've heard of? Oh yeah. It's Garfield. It's who now? Yeah, and it's gonna be a kart racer. So before I could play the game, I actually needed to get it working. My Switch Pro controller was already plugged in from playing Sonic, and no matter what I tried to bind the controls to, there would always be something that didn't work. So I decided to try my Xbox controller, and the default and most upvoted controller configuration on Steam literally binds every button on the controller to shut down your computer. I even tried just using my keyboard, but even that didn't work. I eventually ended up with a combination of Switch controller to steer, keyboard to throw items, and my mouse to navigate the menus. I'm honestly not exaggerating for comedic effect. This is literally the only solution that I could reach after over an hour of playing around. So hopefully, after all of this effort, the game would actually be good. Yeah, it's not very good. The initial roster is just 2 characters, Garfield and John. Now, to be fair, those are the only characters I'm aware of in the Garfield universe, but I still think you need more for a decent kart racer. The levels are simple, lacking any character, and they look like they're copy and pasted from a PlayStation 1 era asset pack, or an out-of-the-box world from a pound store build-your-own PC game DVD course. There are only 6 racers in a race, only a handful of weapons, drifting is janky as lasagna, and it's 50-50 on whether you actually turn the direction that you're looking. Optimization is incredibly bad, with it struggling to stay above 60 frames on my Nvidia 2070, laps are referred to as rounds, and honestly I think the guy who created the controller configuration that just shuts my PC down was probably trying to do me a favour. So obviously, with all that said, we can safely conclude that the general opinion of this game must... Oh, sorry, I actually forgot one thing. You can actually dress your characters in hats. Garfield Kart is by far the best game I have ever played. Please, make this game an esport. This game is the closest a video game has ever come to being a masterpiece. $60 would have been a more fair price. This is why God put us on Earth. Over 8,800 hours played. Thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy one of the other videos linked on screen right now, or of course, you might want to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks everyone, and goodbye.